Good morning, everyone. This is Regina Stevens, and from the New York Transportation Development Corporation. I'm the Assistant Corporate Secretary. Thank you for all joining today. Before we get started, I would like to ask everyone to mute their lines unless you are speaking. I will also take a roll call of the directors, so we're sure to have a quorum present on the line. Please say present when you hear your name. Chair Howard Zemsky.
Present.
George Haggerty.
Present.
Kathleen Mize.
Present.
Pravina Raghavan.
Present.
Okay, Chairman Zemsky, we have our quorum and you can begin.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Regina. I now call to order the meeting of the directors of the New York Transportation Development Corporation for Tuesday, November 10th, 2020. I'd like to note for the record that due to public health concerns and as authorized by an executive order of the governor, this meeting will be conducted by teleconference. I'll note for the record that the public has been given the opportunity to comment on the agenda items by submitting their written comments by 5 o'clock yesterday, and no comments were received from the public concerning today's agenda items. Directors have received the relevant written materials in advance and are free to ask questions at any time. Before we begin with the substantive portion of the meeting, I'll ask the directors whether anyone has any potential conflict of interest with respect to today's agenda items. If so, please make an appropriate disclosure on the record at this time. Okay, hearing none, our first order of business is the approval of the minutes for the directors' meeting of June 2nd, 2020 and July 21st, 2020. Are there any questions, comments, additions, or deletions to these minutes? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Howard, this is Pravina. I motion to approve.
Okay, thanks, Pravina. Is there a second?
George Haggerty, second.
Thank you, George. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Any opposed? None. Okay, thank you all. I'll now ask Julene Beckford to present the next item on today's agenda, requesting adoption of the annual report and authorization to take related actions. Julene, please begin.
Good morning, and thank you, Howard. Today
Hi.
I'm requesting, that the board adopt the corporation's annual report. The New York Not-for-Profit Corporation Law requires that the board of a not-for-profit corporation, such as the New York Transportation Development Corporation, annually present a report showing in appropriate detail the corporation's assets and liabilities, principal changes in the assets and liabilities as of the end of a 12-month fiscal period, revenues or receipts, and expenses or disbursements. In order to comply with the requirements set forth in the Not-for-Profit Corporation Law, staff recommends that the board adopt Note E of the audited combined financial statements of the New York Job Development Authority as of March 31, 2020 and 2019, which is dedicated to the corporation. This note can be found as an exhibit in the board materials. I'm happy to answer any questions about this item at this time.
Okay, thanks, Julene. Are there any questions or comments from the directors with regard to this item presented by Julene?
Nope.
I noted earlier we do not have any comments from the public with regard to this item. Is there a motion to approve this item?
Howard, this is Kathleen. I motion to approve.
Thanks, Kathleen. Is there a second?
Hi, Howard. It's Pravina. I second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you all. Julene, please continue with the next agenda item requesting authorization to adopt ESD's revised procurement guidelines.
Great, thank you again. This morning, I am also requesting that the board authorize the adoption of the revised guidelines regarding the use, awarding, monitoring, and reporting of procurement contracts. The corporation will enter into various contracts in the course of conducting its authorized purposes. In order to ensure the consistent, fair, and competitive retention of goods and services, staff recommends the voluntary adoption of the 2020 procurement guidelines adopted by the Empire State Development Board of Directors at its March 26, 2020 meeting. These guidelines will replace the procurement guidelines previously adopted by the corporation. The guidelines set forth the policies and procedures to be followed by the corporation when seeking to contract for goods or services. It should be noted that these guidelines are only required of public authorities and public benefit corporations, not local development corporations such as the New York Transportation Development Corporation. But they are proposed as a statement of best practices and procedures. No contract will be deemed invalid merely because these guidelines have not been followed. I'm happy to answer any questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Julene. Are there any questions for Julene or any of the ESD team regarding this revised procurement guideline resolution? Okay, as I noted earlier, we do not have any comments from the public on this item. Is there a motion to approve this item?
Howard, this is George. I move to approve.
Okay, thanks, George. Is there a second?
Kathleen, I'll second.
Okay, thanks. Kathleen, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All, any opposed? None. Okay. Moving on to the next item, Doug Brissett will present the last item on today's agenda, requesting authorization to perform and take related actions in connection with the sale and delivery of the New York Transportation Development Corporation Special Facilities Revenue Bonds, Series 2020A, 2020B, 2020C, for the Terminal 4 John F. Kennedy International Airport project. Doug, please begin.
Thank you, Howard. Good morning, everybody. We previously brought this item to you on February 20th of this year. After an extended delay caused by the pandemic and a small restructuring of bonds, we're pleased to be presenting refunding bonds for the Terminal 4 JFK International Airport project for your approval. Today, we are asking the board to approve the operative provisions, sale terms, official statement, bond purchase agreement, related documents, and related actions in connection with the sale and delivery of New York Transportation Development Corporation, TDC, Special Facility Revenue Bonds, Series 2020A, tax-exempt, AMT, Special Facility Revenue Bonds, Series 2020B, taxable, and Special Facility Revenue Bonds, Series 2020C, tax-exempt, non-AMT, for the Terminal 4 John F. Kennedy International Airport project, collectively the Series 2020 bond, to be issued for the benefit of JFK International Air Terminal, LLC, the borrower, a New York limited liability company. The borrower has requested that TDC issue the Series 2020 bonds for the following purposes. Provide funds to A, the fees and redeem in full the outstanding Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, the Port Authority, Special Project Bonds, Series 6, JFK International Air Terminal, LLC project, the Series 6 bond. B, repay the subordinated Port Authority investment in full to the Port Authority. This is the subordinated Port Authority investment. And C, to fees and redeem in full the outstanding Port Authority Special Project Bonds Series 8, JFK International Air Terminal, LLC project. This is the Series 8 bonds, and together with the subordinated Port Authority investment and the Series 6 bonds, these are the prior Port Authority bonds. The proceeds of the 2020 bonds also will fund debt service reserve funds for the Series 2020 bonds and pay issuance costs. The Series 2020 bonds will be special limited revenue obligations payable from 1, certain payments to be made by the borrower to TDC under the loan agreement, by and between TDC and the borrower's promissory note. And 2, the unconditional guarantee from the borrower to the trustee for the benefit of the owners of all Series 2020 bonds, payment of principal, redemption price, and purchase price of, and interest on, the Series 2020 bonds when and as due and payable. As security for the payment of the borrower's obligations under the loan agreement, the note, and the guarantee, the borrower will grant to TDC and the trustees, for the benefit of the bondholders, a leasehold mortgage on the borrower's leasehold interest under the lease. This is the TDC leasehold mortgage. JFK Terminal 4 will constitute the premises under the lease agreement and will be subject to the lien of the TDC leasehold mortgage. The Series 2020 bonds will be further secured by certain funds and securities held by the trustee for the Series 2020 bonds under the indenture. TDC will be a mortgagee to secure a mortgage recording tax exemption. In addition, pursuant to the assignment of leasehold mortgage, TDC will assign its interest in the TDC leasehold mortgage to the trustee for the benefit of the holders of the 2020 bonds, except for certain reserved rights. TDC will also assign its right, title, and interest under the loan agreement, except for certain reserved rights, and the note to the trustee as security for the Series 2020 bond. As is customary in a TDC conduit financing, the rights and responsibilities of TDC are limited under the indenture and other financing documents described above. The borrower has agreed to indemnify TDC, the state, JDA, and ESD against certain liabilities, or to contribute any payments required to be made by TDC relating to such liabilities, including liabilities under the federal securities laws. It is expected that approximately $1.1 billion of Series 2020 bonds will be issued. The Series 2020 A and B bonds on December 1st, and the Series 2020 C bonds on December 15th. In accordance with the attached resolution, you are hereby requested to, 1, approve the terms and authorize the sale of the Series 2020 bonds on a negotiated basis. 2, confirm the appointment of certain professionals. 3, approve the form and content of the official statement and various other documents connected with the sale and delivery of the Series 2020 bonds. And 4, authorize certain TDC officers and employees to take all actions deemed necessary to accomplish the final sale and delivery of the 2020 bonds. Before I conclude for questions, I would like to point out a typo in the materials, resulting in the numbering of the exhibits referenced in the board materials that is inconsistent to those in the authorizing resolution. This inconsistency will be remedied and reflected in the corporate record. Thank you very much. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thanks, Doug. We may have some questions. Let me ask, the world was a lot different in February than it is now, especially the travel industry. Were there any significant changes in that time to what we had originally considered in February to where we are now?
Certainly the teams have gone back and reanalyzed the revenue streams from the project. and have determined with the help of a consultant and to that we can certainly proceed ahead with a restructuring of these bonds. They have been reviewed by rating agencies, and we feel we have good bonds to issue to the public.
Okay. Are there other, the amounts are the same?
In February, at that time, we contemplated a partial refunding of the Series 8 bonds. At this point, we are refunding those in full. So the amounts have changed slightly, but only due to that difference.
Okay. Let's see if there's...
Howard,
Go ahead. Yep.
it's Elaine. We just had our due diligence call, and all the parties disclosed that they didn't see that there were any risks that would prevent us from issuing this debt now.
Okay. Meaning the collateral was still...
Meaning that they're comfortable and no party involved is aware of any risks that would prevent us from going to the market now with this debt, these refinancing bonds.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from directors?
Yeah, Elaine, just to follow up on that, so they're comfortable that the mortgage is still as strong as it was, prior to COVID, and that there's nothing in the security that would be of concern.
Correct.
Okay. And
who
just
are
to
those?
follow up on one of Howard's questions, is the amount the same today in what we're going to approve today as the February? I wasn't clear on if that's the same or it's different.
This is Doug. The amount has increased. The amount has increased now versus February, but that's because we are fully refunding the Series 8 bonds now because the timing has allowed for such a transaction, whereas in February, we were only going to refund a part of the Series 8 bonds.
And it's increasing from where to what today, just to confirm?
The total bonds today are $1.1 billion, and regrettably, I do not have that figure from February in the top of my head.
Hey, Doug, this is George Haggerty. I have a question for you. Structurally, did I hear it correctly stated that the Port Authority, we're refunding or refinancing Port Authority bonds? Port Authority is a bi-state agency, so I was just wondering, and it might be my misunderstanding, is New York taking on any more liability from the Port Authority, a bi-state agency, than it would otherwise? You follow what up where I'm going with that?
I do follow that, and no, I don't believe we're taking on any additional liability. We are serving as a conduit issuer for this particular bond, in lieu of the Port Authority serving as the conduit issuer for these bonds.
So can it be said indirectly that we're relieving the state of New Jersey of some risk? I know we've analyzed the risk in accordance with what Elaine said earlier, but are we alleviating the state of New Jersey indirectly, derivatively?
No, because TDC does not assume any risk for these bonds, nor does the state of New York. It's a flow-through transaction, so that it's the borrower, not the issuer, that is assuming all the risk. Is that helpful?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments from the directors to Doug or anyone on the team regarding this item? Okay. Hearing none, I'll now entertain a motion for approval on this item.
Hi, Howard, it's Pravina. I motion to approve.
Thanks, Ravina. Is there a second?
Kathleen, second?
Kathleen, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Any opposed? Okay, thank you all. The motion carries. We do have no further business. We have no further business. I want to thank all the directors and all the ESD staff. I know a lot of work goes into bringing these resolutions forward and the incredible amount of work that goes into preparing for these. Is there a motion to adjourn?
This is George. I move to adjourn, Howard.
Okay, George, thank you, and thank you all again for your participation, and have a wonderful day and week. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you too, Howard.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, Regina.